Complex on the screen, healthcare in between. Physics, art, and math guide us down this path. Historical tales come alive, where science and stories dive. Blended facts with heart, knowledge from the start. Need rich blues we sing to the future memory. Health and science in the mix. Midbridge got the fix. Complex subjects make
right
clear
now
every episode
in ways that we actually acquire
leads the way,
and ways that make me more efficient.
in the world of digital streams, turning knowledge into dreams. Through the tales of old, new stories unfold.
Thank you so much for joining with me. It is truly an honor and a privilege.
MedBix Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges. Hey, welcome to the MedBix Webcast. You see, my background is a little bit different. This is Raman Annamaraju. I'm the host. You see my different background today. I'm in Los Angeles, in Los Angeles downtown. I'm attending tomorrow Charles Drew Medical School President's Breakfast. That's why I'm here. So, there's a hotel website, hotel internet. So I may drop in, drop out. So I have a co-host to continue the conversation in case if I'm getting dropped out. Okay, in case if there's a problem. But anyway, so this is Vivek Vadva is a Washington Post columnist and a friend of mine. He is a very well-known Singularity professor in the Carnegie Mellon University and Singularity University and he mentioned one time, I was stuck in my mind about that. He said that eventually we are going to represent everybody through software. So it's all the health is going to be represented by a software itself. So they take it a digital twin of your health, exactly biological process, metabolic process, all the processes that goes through genetic, all of them is going to be represented in the software system. That's what he said. That was stuck with me for a long time. But, at that time, it's the beginning of the computers, he's a futurist and he wrote a lot of books about the the Tesla cars and all those self-driving cars. He wrote a lot of books about it. So Vivek Vadva is a Washington Post columnist, and so he's a futurist. So to meet the future, I tell you, that's very interesting. I met Vinodh Balaraman. Balaraman, I met him at JP Morgan show in San Francisco. We had a JP Morgan health show. They do big display, but they're actually the better ones are the outside of the JP Morgan show. The meetings are. That's so where I met him. He was an eloquent speaker. I liked it. So I wanted to listen. He said that he was using an AI platform for this kind of a clinical outcomes to identify the patients, and he reduced the cost of the drug development. Drug development is $1 billion. An average drug costs $1 billion. I used to live in Atlanta. When Atlanta, there is a John Kapoor. I don't know whether you know him. He's very notorious and good and bad. So when he took drugs that is, if it's not a potential for $1 billion, he took those markets and then remarketed through his channels. That's where he made the money. So he opened a company. Bala was another gentleman from same state as Balaraman. He's a Bala, his name. He started this company, the Horizon, and he made a lot of money. In fact, he is very good. So, that actually. So anyway, the Balaraman is IIT graduate. Indian Institute of Technology is a premier institution from India. He's a Madras, where my brother was he passed away. My brother was a professor there. He was a lecturer there in electrical engineering. And then I used to visit him in summer. I enjoyed Madras. I used to go to all the cafeterias, all the hostels. So he's from IIT Madras. Then he went to, then he was in several hats he was wearing. He was in Accenture CEO. Michael Sutcliffe is a good friend of mine, and I interviewed him a couple of times. One time, then that he is also in several companies. He went to Purdue University. He did MBA in Booz Allen, and he was a. So let him explain all these things. Let me bring him to the main stage. Vinodh Balaraman, welcome to the Vinodh. Welcome to the MedBix webcast.
Thank you, Ramana. Thanks for having me, and it's indeed a pleasure.
Explain a little bit background of yours. I may miss something, and can you expand your background a little bit more?
Sure. I think you mentioned some elements of it. Of course, after the undergrad in IIT Madras, did a master's at Purdue in industrial engineering, got an MBA at Chicago Booth. But basically, I at this point in my life, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Having I run a startup in the life sciences AI space called KolateAI. Previously, founded another startup as well. But I've been in the corporate world, as a healthcare exec and leader, and built businesses, including at ZS Associates, where I was a senior partner. And also spent some time at a company called Atos, where I was a senior vice president running the digital health business.
You did hematopathology. Just can you mention that hematopathology a little bit?
Yeah. So that was my prior startup, where we were looking to, we were building an AI, to essentially function as a hematopathologist, read what's called peripheral blood smears, which are a single drop of blood that is put on a glass slide, and today it's manually analyzed by a pathologist to come up with potentially diagnosis of disease, right? So, and we were looking to use the AI to do all of that, right? So, analyze and count what was visible in the image, and then build it out from there. So this is going through its own clinical trials at this point, right? So
yeah. So let me ask you. Then I'm going to come back to the main stage myself. Is a little bit of a, I'm not in my regular place, so a little bit of a challenges here for me. But let me ask you before let me just hide this. Okay. So let me ask you questions on your AI. What is everybody talks about AI. What is the AI in the context of your understanding? What is the AI actually?
at a general level, right? AI is just
general level, yeah.
Exactly. AI is, as the term says, it's artificial intelligence, but it's essentially having machines mimic in some ways, in best they can, how the human brain works, right? So learn like a human, identify patterns, but the benefit of having a machine do it is it can do it in the eventual iteration, and even today it can do it much quicker, and go through much larger amounts of data in almost infinitesimal amounts of time relative to a human brain. The human brain still has many advantages, but AI is working its way there, one step at a time, right?
It has its own intelligence, right? It's some extent a machine intelligence, but it has intelligence in some way, not only just following a brute force data, but it is understanding a little bit of this our processes a little bit, right?
That is correct. So that's called, there's different forms of learning. It's machine learning, which has really in the renaissance of AI, machine learning has underpinned much of that, right? And then there's deep learning, and then now, there's what's called generative AI, which is more about content creation and so on. But yeah, the AIs, as you said, at the root of it, they're looking at historical data about something, and then they're learning from it in order to sort of get to predict an outcome, okay, from that. So they take some inputs, and then they try to determine, based on those inputs, what should the output be, looking at all those inputs that have happened in the past, and with all those inputs in the past, what was the output that happened before. So and then they try to extrapolate that to a future situation, right? So that's
You ventured into the you ventured into the drug development of. You're in New Jersey. All the action of the drug developments are there's all the labs and all the pharmaceutical companies are headquarters in New Jersey. Pfizer is one of them. So you ventured into the drug development area. They wanted to take this artificial intelligence into the drug development. Tell us that journey a little bit. If you can give us a little bit of background on that one.
Yeah, it's a very important question for at least from my perspective, right? The journey started. It was motivated by a personal situation, right, where one of my close relatives, has been a long-suffering patient with rheumatoid arthritis, and has had this. She contracted this at a young age, in her mid to late 20s. Now she's in her mid 60s. But she's been living with this, and over the years has tried many experimental therapies, right? All of the problem that she had, of course, was it was never clear what would happen or what kind of outcome would occur with each therapy, including stuff that got approved. Even then, it wasn't that clear, right? So eventually ended up having not necessarily good reactions to many of these, and so led me to thinking, why can't we leverage some of the technology that is available and coming into play, like AI, as well as all this electronic health data that is coming in, and put that together to develop something and predict how a therapy will impact a patient, right, at an individual patient level. I mean, today they do develop these things, but what is known about these therapies is really what is studied at a large group level, and even that they only know well after the fact, right? They don't know any of this before they actually try anything out, right?
Just we mentioned is a machine intelligence, right? It's a biological complexity. Human body is a complex system, right? So how does it really, in the drug development, you are simulating in a way virtual patient in that sense? To do that, it is a biological complexity. How do you overcome that kind of a complexity to understand the whole process? How does it just give us background for people who don't know anything about AI in that area?
Yeah, so I mean, just to give you the context of what we're doing, what we have at KolateAI is a patient level clinical events prediction and targeting platform that delivers precision medicine to clinical studies, right? So and the way we get there is we train our models by therapeutic area. We pre-build these AI foundation models that have looked at cross-industry data sets comprised of private and public clinical trials data, as well as what's called as real-world data, which is like post-marketing when a drug is used, right? So that forms the basis of what we learn about patients and their diseases, as well as potentially the impacts of drugs on the situations that they are in, right?
Let us talk about the data a little bit. You just mentioned the data. Is it the data? Is it synthesized data or real data, or some of them are all mixed together? Who validates the data? This data is a very important aspect of it. So you are making a decision on that basis on the data. So that's a lot of people are concerned. Tell us how that validated this integrity of the data a little bit. You can explain.
Yeah, the data we look at, of course, is all de-identified, anonymized data sets, and there's many sources that we acquire from. Like I said, it's a combination of private and public sources that include both what's called clinical trials as well as real world studies, right? And many of these, many of these bodies, put together, like put together or publish this data for different purposes, and we've obviously acquired these data sets in different ways, right? So they, yeah.
Are you looking at the data when you're looking at the data? Are you looking at the demographics, or are you looking at clinical data, all together, both of them together?
All of the above, right? So I mean, at the core of it, this AI is so data hungry, right? So, and the cool thing about it is, you don't know what is going to drive the patterns and what's going to drive the impact of a therapy on a patient, for example, right? So it's going to be a combination of demographics, psychographics, phenomics, phenotype, genotype, right? Hematology, chemistry, everything we can get our hands on. And many of these clinical studies, of course, contain all of these elements, right? So those are all the elements that come in.
Let us go to the core problem. Why it is so expensive to develop a drug? $1 billion is minimum nowadays. Why it is so expensive? It is a small company cannot even think of developing this kind of things. Tell us a little bit about that. Why it is what is a prohibitive in this area, and why it is so exuberant cost and the involved in the development of the drug.
Yeah, and it's only getting worse, by the way. The cost is almost up to $2 billion. So the reasons are many. I mean, at the core of it, there is a tremendously high failure rate in these clinical studies, right? So there's like a 90% failure rate in clinical development. Now, even before you get there, there's all this preclinical work that needs to be done. So you need to sort of identify a target, and then a mechanism of action, and then identifies an agent that is going to act on this target that has an impact on the disease. So it's a long, onerous cycle, with very little assurance of success. Like I said, even the last stage of the process, in a way, which is called clinical development, which is trialing it in humans, even that has a 90% rate of failure, right? And some of the reasons are why we got into this in the first place. There is no visibility to these upcoming study clinical events, so you have no idea of the direction it's going to go before you get into it, right? And you certainly don't know what kind of patient-specific impacts it's going to have, right? Because those are all some of the problems that make it very onerous. And at this point, as the years pass by, we've developed quite a bit of drugs. Some of the so-called low-hanging fruit are going away. So obviously you're left with the more, as the science is advancing, but you're left with not the low-hanging fruit anymore, right?
You started a KolateAI, Kolate, if I say it wrong, right? So that you wanted to cut down this cost. Some other way you're trying to cut down this cost and minimize the not only cost, the time is involved too. It's a humongous time is involved. So you want to accelerate the development process. Tell us a little bit how do you do that?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, KolateAI is a patient-level clinical events prediction and targeting platform, right? So we're going to find, like we train these AI foundation models looking at the body of evidence in a particular therapeutic area. So they're specific to therapeutic area, and we look at any various sources of data that we have obtained, and we predict and identify the best suited patients for a therapy, right? So we know how every patient and what kind of clinical outcomes that patient is going to have in terms of the efficacy as well as safety, and that is, of course, that can be used to sort of screen and enroll the best suited patients into a clinical trial, so that you're not going to end up with people for whom the drug doesn't work. So dramatically improves your chance of success. And then we can also do much better characterizations of the best patients, even, which is helpful from a post-marketing perspective as well. And then assist comparing in an apples to apples fashion the target therapy with other therapies as well, right?
So the basically lead optimization is the biggest advantage in your system, right? A lead optimization, identifying the patients, so can reduce you can predict the outcomes, and so you can get mostly drive in the positive side of it rather than trial and error method. To that is your goal of that KolateAI.
Yeah, without so you have the crystal ball visible before you go into it, which can lead to, you can do many things with it. You can enroll and screen the best patients. You can also do more true emulated apples to apples comparisons of your therapy with others, right? And things like that. So
yeah, you're truly disruptive in this process. You're taking on a big elephant. But let me ask you that it's a bigger question, is that people who have the billions of dollars, pharmaceutical companies, are obviously, you're looking for them to be adopting your system. So they have a billions of dollars, but they have workflow. And how do you integrate their workflow? That's a big challenge, right? Because they have their own systems, and they're kind of a bureaucracy in a way. Drug development is a huge bureaucracy in a way. So how do you integrate them? Is it that? Let me shed some light on that kind of thing.
Yeah, so our platforms are, it's software as a service, right? So it runs on the cloud. Without getting too technical about all this, right? It runs on the cloud, and it can be, we can have the so-called, the control planes by which the users can log in from wherever they are. But the data itself, can reside to the extent, including any data that we would ingest from our client on the studies that they've done. That data can stay where it is. We don't have to move any of that, right? So, but we are able to leverage that, incorporate that into our cloud-based models, which run as a SaaS, right? And
so you're trying to your clients are basically pharmaceutical companies, right? There are a lot of drug development companies.
And biotechs.
Where do you get involved? Phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3 level? Where do you get involved in the clinical process?
That's a good question. So typically typically phase 2 or 3, and also post-marketing real world studies, but also sometimes in phase 1, where we're able to find ways to model the current drug, right? Using either evidence that we've seen in the past or proxies, right? So, but it's more typical at phase 2 or 3 and in post-marketing studies, real world studies, right?
Did they use it in a pharmacovigilance side, like the drug is already developed, and follow that? What are the side reactions, or what are the things are going on with that drug? Do you follow that one, or you're not in that space?
Not so much in the pharmacovigilance, because it's just that gets into, that gets into more of just studying the actual effects, but it can be, right? Because we do this post-marketing studies as well, right? But the real value of using our product is that you can actually do true apples to apples comparisons of your therapy with somebody else, right? So that can be applied in the pharmacovigilance side too.
Let us talk about regulatory aspects of it. How much regulations you are under it? What are the things that as a company you have to go through, or the people who are adopting your AI software, they need to AI model, how much they need to go through? Is it any additional burden on them or you, or the regulatory burdens? Do you have anything?
Yeah, so since our software and platform is meant to be a decision support and assistance tool. We don't have to go through the an FDA approval, pre-marketing approval of our product, right? But of course, yeah, drug developers, they need to get approval for their drug, right? So, but our product can be used, incorporated if they're, for instance, they're using it to screen in and enroll the best suited patients. Then it gets embedded into the study protocol itself, okay, as potentially like an inclusion criterion, right? So where the model output and score is used as a criterion to determine if the patient has taken it, right?
I'm going to bring another friend of mine. It's a very close friend of mine. Is Sudhir Chanani. Sudhir, he's from Connecticut. He's going to join with us, and he does a lot of this. He is asking a question: is that can we apply this AI to the supplementary? He does a lot of turmeric things. Let me bring him to the table. Sudhir, welcome to the MedBix webcast. An old friend of mine, old dog, MedBix webcast. Tell us a little bit about you, Steve. And
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Ramana. Good to be here, and nice to meet you, Vinodh, as well.
Thank you, indeed.
Yeah, like Vinodh, I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I've done a number of ventures from semiconductors to software, SaaS businesses as well. And my latest venture is with polyphenols, water-soluble polyphenols. I acquired the technology from this genius inventor. He's a PhD scientist out of India. And we built a whole bunch of products to mitigate diseases that are primarily caused by metabolic syndrome. Things such as arthritis. And, Vinodh, you mentioned about the arthritis. Yeah, I think our products would actually work for her. So we spent 3 years building out a large product line, about 20 products. And we have a pipeline of another 200 products, even going into things like Hashimoto's and more rarer diseases that could be ameliorated with supplements. I cannot say cure, even though actually a lot of our products are more effective than pharma products, but we're not allowed under FDA rules to make any medical claims here.
so there, before going into a lot of details about the chemistry, I wanted to ask you, turmeric, is a very common ingredient in turmeric in Indian food, right? So why it is, the problem with that is absorption is the biggest challenge. Tell us a little bit about the absorption of the turmeric that is due. And then in the future, you can ask the question, how do you take the AI and then advance this your operations?
Great question. As you know, turmeric is in all Indian dishes, but most people don't realize that turmeric does not dissolve in water at all. When you make Indian food, you put it in mustard oil, or you cook it in oil, so it spices, so it dissolves in oil. So turmeric only dissolves in oil. It does not dissolve in water. It's like 1% dissolves in water. So what we have done,
even the minimal, right? Even in the in it's also not too much, right?
In the oil it dissolves almost completely, but then the oil doesn't absorb into your body. So if I'm going to take it as an oil, very little absorption because it goes to the stomach route. The stomach, it gets metabolized. You get gluconorides and things like that, as Vinodh knows better than I do. You get all kinds of metabolites.
So I got it. You said body oil absorbs it, but not the body. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. So the way to get it absorb anything to your body, the best way is if it's water soluble, and if it's water soluble, then you can develop a drug delivery system that could be sublingual or oral absorption. So you have a one-pass system. Normally everything that you take in gets absorbed through the blood and then through the liver. It gets metabolized twice. And Vinodh, you're the expert on this. I'm not as anyone here as knowledgeable as you are on this, but as you know, so typically you lose 2/3 of the active ingredient in the metabolites per pass. So you would get 1/3 or 1/3 if you took it through the stomach. That doesn't even talk about the stomach acids killing a lot of the active. So you really get 2 to 5% net into plasma after going through the stomach process. With ours, you get 85 to 93% into plasma. as clinically measured. We hired an independent CRO to do that, 89 subjects. So essentially, we took that, and now we have developed solutions that actually work because you can get enough concentration in your blood. It's all about the concentration. If you take half an aspirin, your headache doesn't go. You take the full aspirin, the full headache, the headache's completely gone. You need to hit that threshold before you get therapeutic benefit. So what we have done is get it to the absorption levels so that you can get plasma concentration high enough that you can get real clinically measured therapeutic benefits.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Steve. How can we use Vinod's system like an AI in supplement? Because supplemental, these particularly these kind of things, they need a lot of validation data. There is a lot of research went on in the turmeric, no question about that. And then I spoke with the Harvard professor. She was involved in the turmeric quite a bit, and there is no question. There's a good, very positive outcomes are there. But how do you take this next level with the AI, KolateAI, or somebody that, you can explain probably that how can we take this kind of a supplementary side of it? Can you use your KolateAI to the supplementary side, supplementary medicine?
You might, these are polyphenols basically. And
I mean, the short answer is yes. I mean, we've from a go-to-market perspective and business reasons, we focused more on the pharma space because the opportunity is large dollar-wise, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no reason the same technology is not applicable to supplements as well, right? So because it's at the end of the day, we're using our AI, our machine learning and deep learning models to sort of identify patterns and predict the clinical outcomes that a human will have to a certain agent, right? And the agent can be a pharmaceutical agent that is going through clinical trials, also supplements, but supplements are trying to prove some of the same points as well. I mean, you're just trying to do it in a potentially skipping some of the steps in the process, but you would love to have some of the same evidence, right? I think
it's the active ingredient, right? I mean, you're looking at the API. Here, the API is curcumin, and curcumin has 3 components, basically. So
bring you down. Yeah. Go ahead. Keep talking.
Okay. You got it. Okay.
You're in the bottom. Yeah. That's I'm going to talk about a little bit. Yeah. Go ahead and please.
Thank you, Raman. So you're looking at the same the same process of validating the efficacy of an API effectively. So the API here, there are 3 components to the API. There's the bis-methoxymethane. There are 3 different components, 3 different types of polyphenols that come out of curcumin. And these are the ones you really want to target. So you want to say, okay, if I've got this much of this kind of polyphenol and I take it at this dose, what happens to my blood sugar? Right now, over time, what are the therapeutic benefits here? So essentially, and again, Vinodh, you can go much deeper into this, but essentially, we would like to validate the benefits that our therapy can bring.
Thank you, Steve. Oh, thank you, Sudhir. I'm going to, when I come back, I'm going to present a topic on just a very different medical device. After that, I come back and ask you about Kolate, your website, and what do you want to raise, and how do you want to raise investments, and you need help, and all those things clients you're looking for. We can talk about that when I get back. So, but you'll be watching with me, and you can jump in anytime. This presentation, very quick presentation I do. This is a topic that is interested a lot of doctors. That's why I do these things. So it creates a lot of interest in the things. That's why. Let me bring it back. This is a presentation. That is okay. That is we're all watching in the downstage, and anybody can jump in. I'm going to talk about something who revolutionized the biomedical engineer who revolutionized. We are all engineers. Steve is engineer. I'm a scientist, and he's an engineer himself. Vinodh. So we're all that came from that kind of background. We want to change it, disrupt the world. So I want to tell you about something about it. His name is Edwin Hubble. Hubble telescope. Everybody, we hear a lot about it. That is named after him. He is a really playboy type of guy. People don't know he's not a nerd at all. He's a boxer. He won the boxing championship. He was a lawyer. He's a Oxford lawyer, actually. He graduated from Oxford.
Right.
And then he's actually became famous for astronomer. He's not famous as a lawyer or a boxer. Actually, he won the championship in the basketball in Chicago. But he became Edwin Hubble. He is basically became famous for astronomer because he found out that the universe. What he found out was that the universe was expanding. The Hooker telescope, right fit name for him. But Mount Wilson, he found out that the universe is expanding. That's in an accelerated pace. That's what he found out, expanding universe. That is a big news in the stunned the world. We didn't know that until that time. This is a lawyer, boxer, athlete, basketball player was telling that the universe is expanding. It shook the world of the scientific world, in fact, when he found that. How did he find out? He found out he's a Doppler, user Doppler. It's a user Doppler is a mechanism. You can apply Doppler. You see that if you stand next to the ambulance, it goes and increase the speed, increase the volume, and goes down. Because when it coming down, there is the frequency, the wavelength goes down when it is coming close to you, and then when it's going away, the wavelength expands. So it becomes bigger. That is the problem of the Doppler effect. You can apply for sound, you can apply for light. It doesn't need to be any electromagnetic wave spectrum. You can apply the Doppler effect. That is the power of the Doppler. So in the Doppler, for example, the way they found out the storms, weather radar report. You know how the weather radar works is very interesting. They send a pulse to the the way the storm is coming, how big it is, how fast it is coming. What they do, they send a wave and then hits the one raindrop, and then comes back. And then they send the second one. Then it comes back. Then the return wave, they can tell the difference is approaching or is going away from and how fast it's going away. So that's what it is actually it works at the raindrop level. Weather radar is not just looking at the weather radar from the satellite. Is actually a simple wave Doppler mechanism they use. Doppler effect. So this is a Doppler effect. There's a sound and light. You can apply for sound and light. Both of them, you can apply for sound, you can apply for light. So Doppler effect is a very profound. So eventually we are using a Doppler effect in the ultrasound. So you can do, that I used to sell a lot of ultrasound machines. You can do from the ankle, you can do from the ankle to you can do orthoclerosis diffusion in the body. You can do the legs bilateral Doppler, in the vascular Doppler, abdominal is a testicle Doppler. You can do the pelvic. You can do the abdominal Doppler. You can do aorta Doppler, where people can Then the biggest one is the heart echocardiogram. Is the biggest one. Abdominal, liver, kidneys, all the abdominal you can do. Transcranial now. There is a Doppler goes all the way from the ankle to the top. The transcranial Doppler, it goes stroke volume, and carotid Doppler is the stroke, and transcranial is the next one. So you can do the ultrasound, the sound wave, the Doppler effect. You can find all the entire image. You can do it from the bottom to the top of the body. The woman has a little bit more. They have a breast cancer. Men can get also breast cancer, but they are much more prone to that. 1 in 8 women get the breast cancer. That's what they say. The OB, the pregnant woman, can get the OB ultrasound. Actually, OB ultrasound is one of the pelvic ultrasound is a lot of another one. So there is a ovarian cancer and all those things you can tell. So these are all ultrasound really revolutionized this. The Doppler effect revolutionized the ultrasound. It's actually invented by Christian Doppler in 1853. He found out the effect in Vienna, Austria. Then George Ludwig is actually soldier. He's in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. He is in the military. He was experimenting on the animals actually. The first baby came out of the Dr. Ion Donald from the Scotland, actually, London, England. He did the first baby ultrasound. That is the one that found out in the 1987. Is not that 19 somewhere around before 87. I'm not saying that. That's the first baby picture. That is in the Smithsonian Institution. That is the first baby picture. Is taken. Dr. Ian Donald, physicist Tom Brown, physicist involved like me, University of Glasgow, Scotland. They did the first ultrasound of the baby. Is in the right now displayed in the Smithsonian Institution. This is through echo Doppler effect. Actually, who made this Doppler in the United States famous? His name is as American as you can get, Don Baker. He's from Seattle. He was born in 1932. He's born in Alaska. He has settled in. Then he went to U.S. Air Force in Korea. In Korean War, they're checking the Doppler, the planes, and all those things. He was a radar technician. He was learned about radar. Then he came back from there, and he was working for Boeing wind tunnel, and he learned a Doppler effect quite a bit. Then what he did was he did an amazing thing after that. It's a Don Baker. So he opened a company. So Doppler effect, Doppler shift, he used it to the blood flow. So blood cell coming in, coming out. You can use the same thing because you send the pulse wave and then see that is coming in, how fast it is coming in. So you can see if the vessel is narrow, your vessel is narrow, it becomes faster. So you know that how much autochlorosis is a plaque is involved. So you can tell that's a whole blood flow mechanism you can predict from the Doppler effect. That's a Doppler shift. So you found out through this mechanism, this Doppler effect you can use for the heart. The Doppler effect of the ultrasound is the blood coming towards you, and then how fast it is coming. That is a Doppler effect. You use a Doppler effect to predict that heart diseases. They were using a continuous wave Doppler, means they're sending the wave continuously. That was a bigger problem. It did not give a best results. Then the next revolution, what Don Becker did was pulse wave Doppler. He learned from the Korean War. You send a pulses, a wave, and then wait until that it returns back. So that's a pulse wave Doppler really revolutionized the ultrasound, medical ultrasound. I used to sell his ultrasound. He opened a company called Advanced Technology Labs, ATL. It's called LDL in Bellevue in the garage, Don Becker. I used that ultrasound. It's not long ago. We'll be surprised. So that ultrasound, then Ultramod 4 came out after that. It was so popular. That's a standard for the OB ultrasound around the world. He became a standard model. Don Becker made the Seattle, Bellevue is the suburb of Seattle. He made the first $1 billion through this lab, Advanced Technology Lab, in 1980s and 90s. I used to buy from him. I never spoke with him, but he was not involved in the sales side. But I spoke with the vice president and all those people who were involved at the time. I used to buy a lot of Ultramount 4 because we used to do a lot of Ultramount woman ultrasound. OB ultrasound. He saved millions of women. So people did a research, but he mass produced this one, and particularly in the heart side, cardiac ultrasound, he did an amazing job. That is really stunned the medical community. He was an unsung hero of medicine, in my view. So he was a 14 different countries, usually 60 distributors, 24 patents on the ultrasound. OB ultrasound, he became a gold standard in that sense. Then he is a cardiac ultrasound. Ultramount 9 came in, then color Doppler came in, and he was doing that is an amazing what he did. And then then now is a new wave because of him. There's a new wave of ultrasound called shear wave. So they can find out the different, that's shear wave goes through entire liver, because before you used to send a one wave, pulse wave, right? Shear wave covers the entire liver. A lot of people who are alcoholics, we used to be alcoholic. I used to drink a lot. So people get this, to find out the stage of the ulcer, a stage of the liver, for example. You can find it immediately through the shear wave ultrasound. That's advanced technology. Prostate cancer, that is, you can find out through the shear wave. It's an amazing. Dr. Naveen Nanda is my guru, and I learned a lot from him. Plus, he wrote the first. Is very active. He just retired. He still teaches part time in the University of Birmingham, Alabama. Thank you, sir. He always watches my program. Thank you, sir. I'm always a great fan of him. I attended so many of his, his seminars. He took me. I used to go to American College of Cardiology meetings. He used to take me there. I didn't know anything. I'm a physicist, so he taught me a lot of things. Thank you, sir. But he wrote the first book on the atlas of color Doppler echocardiography. He did that still he's active. I talk with him once in a while. There is now in a few blocks from the place right now. I'm in Los Angeles, but where I'm at in Santa Clara, he is Sam Madiraju is from my hometown, back home. He is doing the iPhone-based ultrasound color Doppler echocardiography. It's just iPhone is an amazing invention. Point of ultrasound, point of care ultrasound. It is a focus. It is going to change the world, and you can use a Butterfly is another company, but he is Exo Imaging. His company name is Exo Imaging. He is doing this one. So now, what is advantage? You can send it to the iPhone. You give an iPhone or some Android phone to the woman in India, a small village, and then they can connect with it. When you connect with it, you can see the radiologist from any country, anywhere, can see hey, that's a problem with the ultrasound. That is there's complex pregnancy, risk pregnancy. You can assess the pregnancy of the risk of and save women's lives and babies' lives. Think about that. How powerful this technology can do. AI, actually, Vinodh, I want to mention to you, he was using AI, because when I was selling ultrasound, the biggest challenge for us is finding the ultrasound operators. Is a very heavily operator dependent. So the AI came in now. It's changing the scene of this whole game of the ultrasound, and AI is predicting prostate. For example, they have the AI to detect the prostate cancer automatically. The moment you put in the camera there, that ultrasound, it tells you whether that particular thing is a high risk, the prostate cancer. So there is a lot of things going on. Now you can do contrast bubble. You can deliver the drugs actually. You can through the contrast. You can move the sound waves and move the contrast bubble. Is the bubbles? Contrast. You can get the same quality. MRI and CT are big, right? Huge. There are tons, hundreds of tons. So, but if you use ultrasound, you can use on the iPhone. You can get the same contrast. If you use a contrast agent, bubble agent, you can also deliver. You can treat not only micro bubbles using the perfusion studies. You can do that. That's amazing things are coming up in the ultrasound. There is a contrast enhanced ultrasound they call. One of the biggest challenges in the pancreatic cancer is the biggest challenge. That is a very hard to detect in a pancreatic cancer. So Joseph Fourier, all engineers know. I don't need to tell Steve and Vinodh. They know in and out of the Fourier transformations. Yep. Every engineer uses Fourier transformation. He's really God-sent. Transformations are God-sent. That transformation really changed the world of engineering, and then now it is changing the world of medicine. So, right?
Raman, if I may say, can I say, Fourier transform? What is a Fourier transform? Essentially, with a Fourier transform, you can take any time variant signal and decompose it into a sum of sinusoids. And if you can make it into sinusoids, then you can get information from that signal. So if I have a signal that's going like this, it's a frequency and time. It's an analog signal. with the Fourier transform, I can reduce any signal by sampling it at twice the highest frequency.
Yeah, frequency and time can be interchangeable with the Fourier
Exactly.
transformation, right? You can
Exactly.
move
So
back and forth between these two. Right?
Yeah, so you have to sample it at twice the highest frequency. Then you can decompose it into a sum of Fourier transforms, which are nothing but sinusoids.
Did
So
you use, did you use Fourier transformations?
Not,
Vinod?
I mean, not directly in what we do, but it's but it is a pretty fundamental part of
Fundamental
physics,
part of
right?
the
So
engineering, right?
it's
Yeah.
really a part of communication theory. It was really, it's really more, Shannon sampling theorem, Fourier transforms. Obviously, the applications are in everything now, where you can
Yes.
decompose any signal and get information out of it by making it into sinusoids.
So
But
Don
you're-
Becker brought the Seattle into the world map. He's the first company to become $1 billion. You put the
Yeah.
Seattle in the world map, and he's before Jeff Bezos, before Bill Gates, he became popular. And then now Amazon put his headquarters name on his name, Doppler Building, because actually Don Becker should have put his name on it, but it's a Doppler became famous through Seattle became famous through the Doppler equipment. So the headquarters for the Amazon is called Doppler Building now. That's thank you for watching. I wanted to. The Don Becker died in 2000. I think he recently died in 2020 or something. He died. He lived a long time. So he's a unsung hero of the medicine. People don't know. Some people or they play a role, and then I want to bring to the engineering, physicists, mathematicians to the front lines of the medicine and say their contributions. Thank you for watching. Let me bring my friends back, all of them, and see that. Let me take this. Just 1 second. Let me bring my friends back a little bit. Yeah, this is. Yeah. Let me just turn off with this one I did. Okay. Now, okay. So tell us a little bit about what is so you had did you know about all these Dopplers a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, you certainly refresh me on the history of it, and all the different ways it got in, and eventually being used all over science, right? But yeah, I mean, it's of course something we run into every day, right? I mean, I stand at the train station and I see the train, and you hear you hear the train sound that goes to a high pitch and then goes to a low pitch, right? So when it passes you. So yeah, I mean,
How useful it is that simple concept, useful in medicine, so widely useful, right? So let me ask you, KolateAI. Let me ask you, what is the future of the KolateAI? What are you trying to do with the KolateAI.ai?
Yeah, we're look, we're looking to disrupt the industry, and we're in a good way, right? So and the benefits of it are in terms of as you said, cost saving, accelerating time to market, but most importantly, find by targeting the best patients, you will end up with medicines that work. And of course, on the other side, you can demand better pricing for it too, because these are medicines that work, right? So the future, I think, is, as we are, of course, we're focused in certain therapeutic areas at the moment that we've built our models in, like mainly in oncology, metabolic syndrome, and immunology. But we will, of course, there's still some areas of oncology we need to cover. So we will continue to expand our therapeutic area depth and breadth, and go into more therapeutic areas, and then there's additional adjacent applications of AI that we can bring in to clinical studies as well, right? Like automating submissions, and automatically writing protocols and things of that sort. But those are further in the future, right? The next few years is about developing and building our company, and penetrating our customer base, and of course doing whatever fundraising activity is needed along the way as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think your polymath background you have, you need that kind of a background. You're Purdue University graduate, industrial engineering, and you need that's a multidisciplinary field you have. That is you're well qualified for that, and you're unsung hero. We need to change. We need to reduce the cost of the drugs. There's no excuse. There is no excuse for this war to patients to pay this kind of money, and nobody is happy in this healthcare. We have these two gentlemen up here. There's one is the Vinod is trying to do revolutionizing the through AI, the drug discovery and drug development. And then Sudhir is trying to do natural supplements. He can do turmeric and other kind of things that can help people. There's prevention is better than anything else. So you can do a lot of things through. Sudhir, give you 1 minute of 1 minute only. Say something about anything you want to say.
Can I actually add one more thing before?
Please go ahead.
Unless you come back to me, either way is okay. So
I will come back to you in a second.
All right.
Okay, go ahead, Sudhir. Just
I
1
just
minute.
want to very quickly say, and I don't want to make any pitch anything, but these are the kind of things what we've done with our products. We productized it so we can actually get them into the market with simple solutions that actually will actually work. So basically, the whole idea we are focused on is to lower the cost of getting your medical issues resolved. It doesn't matter whether you do it through prescription drugs or the supplementation. Your objective is to get well. You're sick,
Yes.
to get well. So I have a few theories why medical costs are high, but I don't want to get into all of that. There's a lot of theories. But I think one of the good things is if the FDA allows supplements to put label claims on it, like you're able to say things like that it does improve blood sugar, for example. You cannot make those claims now. So we would love for the FDA to regulate the supplement industry, take away all the bad actors.
Yeah, bad actors. Yeah.
And that'll bring the cost down, because when supplements start to compete with pharma, that will put a lid on pharma. Right now, pharma can charge whatever they want.
Yeah. I usually would turmeric. That thing's very good. It is very effective. I loved it. Actually, Dr. Japra was using it in the loved. So it is a very good one. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving us that. So, Vinod, tell us what is. Give us a final. You're the final word for you.
No, I was gonna. So what I wanted to say is, of course, we're, where we are now. We're pushing to scale our company, right? And so we are keen to continue our discussions with folks in the pharma and biotech world. But medical doctors are a very important part of what we do. I mean, because they end up being consumers and users of what we do in a biopharma or medical research context. So we also work with, we have medical doctors on our clinical advisory board as well, right? So we are keen to talk with folks that are MDs that may have an interest in learning more about what we do. Keen to talk to biopharma companies, and of course the other side is where fundraising, right? So if anyone has got an interest in potentially investing,
KolateAI, KolateAI, KOLATE.ai. Vinodh Balaraman, if you do Google him, you will see him. What you're doing is, that you're taking a big elephant and trying to reduce the costs. That is a noble job. At the end of the day, that we are all trying to disrupt the process and reduce the cost of these unbearable amounts of cost that involved with the drug development, and you're doing that great job. Thank you all for joining. It's truly an honor and a privilege to talk with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vinod.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, all of you guys. You're all best friends and good friends, and wish you all the best. This is truly an honor to talk with you guys. Let me. I have a little bit of new things going on here. I'm trying to. Thank you. Good night. Good night, all of you.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine. through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.